We don't have a democratic system or a vice president. Therefore, of course, there was danger and questions started to be asked. What would happen in the event of a power vacuum in Egypt? This question is being asked by many people in Egypt, but no one can accurately give the answer.
During the 80s and 90s, the Egyptian regime continually deflected questions on political reform. They even dismissed calls for ending the state of emergency, in place since the assassination of Anwar al-Sadat in 1981. Instead, they repeated the so-called national priorities, rebuilding the economy and countering the threat of terrorism.
We had daily and weekly terrorist attacks. When a political party feels that the state is in danger, it must focus on safety before reform.
But despite the increased security steps taken by the government, the violence reached its peak in November 1997. In the ancient city of Luxor, a massacre took the lives of 58 tourists. The Egyptian tourist industry was devastated. And by the end of the century, the economy was facing a new problem. The petrodollars sent home by Egyptian workers in Iraq began to dry up following US-imposed sanctions. Other Gulf states began to close their doors to foreign labor too. Problems which had been deferred but not solved began to resurface. Government promises of economic growth were starting to sound hollow.
By their nature, Egyptians will keep quiet when it comes to politics as long as they're compensated in some way, economically or socially. But the circle was closing in on them, and they were being faced with only one option: the fate of a slave.
A popular uprising that shook the country to its core. A defiant president under siege from his people. As the protesters took charge of the streets, we look back at the events that are changing Egypt.
I will stay on the air if I can until the police come
in a special program, Al Jazeera gives you a day-by-day account from those that witnessed them firsthand. Egypt burning, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Everyone in this city has heard about the release of the Palestine Papers. The debate is becoming extremely heated.
And you can see the amount of security that's been put into place. This is leading to a very tense situation on the streets.
They're saying that the fight can continue for as long as it takes until a radical change in Tunisia.
There's so many caskets with victims, there's no time to do a proper burial.
And as one man told me, for him, 2011 no longer exists.
Home to a diversity of rare species, Latvia's pristine woodlands are a place of magic. But with a strained economy and an eager market, forests are rapidly perishing, and with them their inhabitants. People and Power investigates how 60% of Latvia's timber ends up on UK shelves with a questionable seal of approval. Latvia's pulp fiction, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Once a notorious prison island.
Mandela Cell is number 5 from here.
Now a popular tourist attraction.
And the water could do anything to you. It can punish you for no reason.
Ex-convicts reveal a remarkable story of survival and endurance.
You just look in front of you, you don't look and see what you're eating. Otherwise, you won't eat.
And how the island has drawn them back as free men. Back home, South Africa. A witness special on Al Jazeera.
Fearless journalism.
But still, they're not finished yet.
In-depth documentaries.
The war is over, but the suffering continues for the Tamil civilians displaced by the conflict.
Informed analysis.
What exactly are you protecting them from?
They are not ready to go to their areas.
Exclusive access.
I'm talking to the Sri Lankan president.
When somebody attacks you, you have to defend yourself.
Al Jazeera goes behind the headlines to cover the story from every angle and every side.
You don't fight threats, you fight enemies.
Our core function remains the territorial defense of our populations and our member states.
Sanctions. Do you think they will work? A huge number of Western forces have not made huge progress. The public no longer even believes that, we are there because we are building democracy.
Our empire is imploding. It itself is an illusion.
Empire with Marwan Bashara on Al Jazeera.
As China undergoes profound changes, competition for jobs becomes a struggle to survive. 2 graduates fresh out of college seek employment in a city of 8 million people. Now entering the real world, the graduates become increasingly desperate and begin to question their college-trained talents. It's a time of hope and frustration for the workforce of the future. Faces of China at this time on Al Jazeera.
In a new series of one-hour documentaries, Al Jazeera English showcases films from across the Al Jazeera network.
They were fighters, assassins, insurgents, and icons. They took up arms to become an integral part of Lebanon's 15-year civil war. The war through the eyes of the women who fought on the front lines.
Al Jazeera World.
The main stories here on Al Jazeera.
Of course, that these trials will actually
From the world to your phone. Al Jazeera Mobile.
Business as usual. Egypt's government urges people to go back to work as protests enter their 13th day. Hello, it's 600 GMT, 8 a.m. in Egypt. I'm Darren Jordan. This is Al Jazeera live from Doha. Also coming up, seeking an end to Egypt's political crisis, the banned Muslim Brotherhood joins talks with the government. Changing faces. Gamal Mubarak quits his father's party. Will his replacement bring new hope? And in other news, caught out. The Pakistani cricket players banned for fixing the game. Welcome to the programme. Egypt's political standoff is fast turning into a test of willpower. It's now 8 a.m. there on what's expected to be a 13th day of protest, and the government's now making a concerted effort to get Egyptians back to work. It's the start of the working week, of course, and banks and businesses and government offices are due to reopen after being closed for days. But die-hard demonstrators are still camped out in Cairo's Liberation Square, where they vow to continue their battle to oust President Mubarak. Well, let's get some insight into how the protesters themselves are faring after 13 days of rallying. Omar has been protesting every day in Cairo. He joins us live on the line now from the Egyptian capital. Omar, it's been 13 days of protest. Just tell us what's going on down in the square now. I mean, you've been there every day, haven't you?
Yes, I've been all the night in the square and just came to change and get some food. Okay. You want me to talk about the status or the new situation in the square?
Yes, what's happening in the square? I mean, are people getting tired there? I mean, you sound pretty tired yourself.
No. I'm 53 years old, and maybe this allowed me just to come back. But I want to tell you that the young people are quite insisting, and no doubt about this, to continue, even if they spend all their life in the square, until they reach the achievement of their demands or their legitimate demands, and also the blood of the people who have been killed by the real bullets of this regime will never allow the people to leave this place. And they see that since they started their revolution, they declared it clearly that their goals are three goals. The first one is change, and they mean comprehensive change. And the second is freedom, and the third one is social justice.
But Omar, you still haven't managed. Omar, you still haven't managed, though. You still haven't managed to get President Mubarak to quit. So what's the plan of the protesters? I mean, people are going there to the square every day, but the president's still in power. So what's the plan for the protests now, then?
Look, they think that the president started to move to assign a vice president due to this revolution. 30 years the president refused to take this step. The regime is starting to say now that he wants to change